Good afternoon, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make a small or miniature fairy tree house, and we're going to put it on this stone here. Before we put it on there, start sculpting it on there, we want to seal the stone. I'm using acrylic here, and you also can use varnish or polyurethane. The idea basically is the stone might be porous. If it's porous, it won't receive the clay so well. In other words, the clay won't stick to it very well. So we seal the stone. The acrylic product I'm using, I will put in the video description along with a suggestion for polyurethane and varnish as well. This product that I'm using works very well for this. I've used it many times. And that would be the best bet, but if you can't get that, of course, again, polyurethane or varnish. In the video description, which is down below the video, there's going to be a tool and supply list which will include this product, and also there will be instructions on how to bake polymer clay. We're using Sculpey 3, and that is what the instructions will be for. When you're painting the stone, you just need to put like one coat on it, but make sure you clean your brush right afterwards so it doesn't get ruined. And I'm just using water for that here. And that will take a few minutes to dry. So while we're waiting, we can start the tree. This is really pretty much an easy project. I'm starting off with a little bit of clay. I want to knead it, which also conditions it. And couple things you should know is some polymer clays will not stick to a rock. Some air dry clays that are not polymer clay, and some polymer clays will shrink. If they shrink and the rock doesn't shrink, which it won't obviously, it could crack around the rock. So just keep that in mind. So once you've got your clay kneaded and conditioned to mix up all the ingredients on the inside of the clay, you can roll it into a ball. I'll make sure I have enough here. I'm going to get a little bit more. And then roll that into a ball. Like that. And then I'm going to roll it into kind of a cone shape. Like that. A bit further. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and snip the bottom of it to create the beginning of the roots. And I'm going to do the same at the top to create the beginning of the branches. Like that. And you can just kind of tease them out and form them to be little points. You can also strengthen up the top of the tree by taking a small bit of clay like this, flattening it slightly like that, and then just putting it right in the center there and blending it in to the branches. So I do, usually when I'm sculpting, well, always I use Sculpey 3. I like it for my sculpture. But it's also just versatile in that you can use it for sculpting on rocks and things like that, and it's not a problem. Some clays are not very good at that. So now I'm just kind of bringing out the roots a little bit. I'm going to elongate the chunk of the tree a little bit just by rolling it a little bit more and make it a little bit longer. And then I'm just gonna take the roots and start to form them to be little points, the shapes of little points like that. Okay, and this is almost dry now. That's another thing about this particular product is that it dries very quickly. So I'm just going to see how I want it oriented on the stone, and then I'll start to twist it and while applying downward pressure. So it's kind of working it into the stone a little bit. And then see how it's leaning. It's, you know, obviously you have to kind of set the rock down and see how it looks once it's just sitting down on the table, and then adjust it. Now, one thing that you can do, and I often show this, is it's really nice if the tree is kind of relaxed and has a relaxed pose, because it kind of striving for something that is old. So I bring it back that way. I bring it back this way, and then holding my finger on the other side, I push it the top that way. And that also creates what is called artistic form. And it's just something to try to do when you're sculpting. I'm going to pinch some of this root off here. Just keep in mind, we are creating as we go. I have made many trees, but I have not made this tree before, obviously. So this is a new, completely new creation. And that looks pretty good. Now, another thing that you can do to kind of make the tree look more natural is to put what I call shoulders on the roots. And that's just rolling a ball of clay like that and applying it to the tree and then blending it in. Just blending it in all the way around. And it creates a little shoulder. I'm going to do another one on the other root, blending it in. Kind of makes it look like, you know, basically like an old bonsai tree or something like that. And I'm going to get a little bit more clay and put it on this one here. I'm gonna, squeezing the trunk of the tree will also raise it up a little bit too. Now I'm going to take a sculpting tool and I'm going to create a little cut in between the roots here. And that just adds definition to the tree. And here also. You know, when you're sculpting trees or anything really, you know, practice is what's going to get you to the point where you're really happy with your work. Now this is where I'm going to put the door. So I'm going to cut the shape that I want for the door. And I'll take another sculpting tool and just scoop that out. And I just want to go in a little ways to kind of create the shape of the door and the door frame. Then what I'll do is I'll take a sharper sculpting tool like this one here, and I'll just draw lines in, sculpt lines in that will give the appearance of wood planks. And then I'll just clean this up here, the bottom of the door there. Now I'm going to take a small bit of clay, just a real small bit like this, and that will be a doorknob, and I'm going to drop it on the door. So I'm put the door back and just drop it on the door and then roll it into place and just press it in. And when you press it in, what you can do is you can put your finger on it and move your finger like this in a circular motion to seat it, applying just gentle pressure, and that will seat it there. Now what I'm going to do is take the back of a paintbrush and I'm going to put a little window up here. And I'm also going to put a window on the back, I think. So I'll put the hole in and then I'll rotate it to make it larger. Like that. Okay, now I'm going to take a sculpting tool and I'm going to put in the detail for the bark of the tree. So I'm just going to take my time and draw curving lines from the top of the tree down to the roots. Just taking my time, paying attention to detail. It's going to look really nice if I do that, rather than just trying to scratch it. Okay, Now what you can do is you can take your hand and pat the tree, because there's like these little pieces of clay that kind of stick up when you carve it. So I just pat it gently like that, and then just touch up anything I missed. There's a little bit here, and then I'll take my the back of my paintbrush again and check the window holes and make sure they're not misshapen. And I'm thinking, you know, actually it would be really nice to have a swing on this. So the doors here, if I make the branches a little bit longer, I could probably get a swing on this. I did a bigger tree, a video on a bigger tree not too long ago that had a swing. So I'm just adding the clay, as you can see, and blending it in. And I'm going to take the sculpting tool, and wherever I can't get with my fingers, I'll blend that in. I'm going to add another branch over here and then one here. Okay, I'm adding the final branch extension now. Supporting it with my finger and then blending it with the tool. And this again is, you know, it's creation and progress. This is how, you know, I sculpt. If I change my mind about something, obviously I'm going to have to go back and, you know, touch up the other areas, like the texture I just put on the tree. But this is how, you know, it is for me when I'm creating, because to me it's not like cut and dry before I start, you know. It's ever changing sometimes. Now you can strengthen these branches by adding a little bit of wire. This is galvanized steel wire, 18 gauge, and that will be in the tool and supply list. Just cut it with a pair of pliers, but when you're cutting it, you want to make sure you hold both ends, and both ends are secure, because it will it can hurt your feet if you step on it, if you're barefoot, of course. So when I cut it, you can see I'm holding both ends. There's one, and there's two, and three. Now what I'll do is I'll slide the wire down into the branch, into the tree. Into the stalk of the tree, or trunk of the tree. Now cut those pieces of wire off there. I'm going to shoot them down into the hole of this wire because I don't have any more hands, and cut those. There we go. Now I'm just going to straighten up the tree, make sure it's not leaning too far one direction or another. and I'm going to make the swing, which will be a tire swing. It seems to be, reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to play in a tire swing. So I roll a noodle of clay, and then I'm going to put it around this brush, this paintbrush handle, as a form. Join the two parts, and then I'm going to cut the excess off there. And then I can just turn it like that to get it to loosen up and come off. I can take my sculpting tool to blend in the ends together. I want to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to put the brush back in and rotate it. To kind of expand the inner hole. Okay, now we'll set that aside. And now we'll go back and put in the detail, the bark of the tree on the branches, and just fix up whatever we messed up when we were working on that. I'm just using my finger to support the branches so they don't bounce all around, making it difficult for me to put the markings in. I'm glad you could see how this goes together sometimes. Now, one final thing is when we're going to use moss on the treetop, and it's really good to put wire into little wire pins for the moss to stick to. So we'll cut little pins that are about an inch long or so. And they just need to be sticking up about maybe a 1/4 inch from the top of the branches. And this will help for the moss to just have something to latch onto. So I'm just putting them in and then cutting off the excess that I don't need.
and then in a minute we'll put a finish on the tree. Okay, so we're getting ready to finish the tree. Now there's something you can do if the stone that you're working on is wobbling around like that. You can take a well-kneaded piece of clay and put it on the bottom to help with that. Usually what I do is I roll a little oblong shape like that and put it on, just put it on the bottom, and then press it into place. But then once it's pressed into place, what I'll do is I'll set it on the table and make sure the tree is sitting the way I like, and then just press it in like that. And that's what it looks like. It kind of got torn when I slid it to break it loose, but you can just roll it back. But that will keep it fairly steady now. So we're going to go ahead and do the finish, and I'm using Pearl X pigments, and I'm going to be using spring green and silver and antique bronze, which is actually a faux bronze. And I'm going to apply the green. What I do first, just to tell you, I dip the brush into the powder and then carry some over onto the lid, and then I work off the lid just so I don't make a big mess. And after I dip the brush into the powder, I pat it like this on the table or on a paper towel to get all the excess off, and then I just brush it on. I'm trying to avoid the doorknob because that's going to go in silver. Looks like I got a little bit on there though. That's alright. And then you want to clean your brush off really good before you go to the next color. And I have a rag in my lap, and that's where I clean it with that. I'm going to get just a little bit of silver on the tip of my brush, dab the excess off, and touch it to the doorknob. Now I'm going to do most of the tree with my finger, and I dip it into the bronze, get a little bit on there, swirl it with my thumb, and apply it this way. I think it looks better if you apply it with a finger as opposed to a brush. But sometimes it's hard to get into all the nooks and crannies that you want to. When I'm doing this, I am looking for an antique finish, a faux antique finish. It's really, I just think it's one of the prettiest finishes I've ever done in my entire career as an artist. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. Wow. I never tire of that finish, I have to say. And this product is really very good. Also, Pearl X. Now, you know, as I said, you know, when I'm creating, I'm frequently doing different things, and I change my mind a lot. And I'm not changing my mind, but I'm definitely going to add stairs to this. I think it will be very nice with stairs. So I'm going to get some clay here and knead it and condition it. And then I'm going to roll a little ball and squeeze it, not flatten it, but kind of make it about that thick.
and just seed it on the rock. I'll just kind of smooth it in with my sculpting tool. Roll another ball, flatten it slightly, put it up underneath that first step, and form it in, sculpt it into the to the rock. You can go beneath it and take a sculpting tool and just cut it into the rock to strengthen this step. See how I'm doing that? Just cut it in. Roll a ball, flatten it out, place it beneath the last step and just form it into shape, and then cut it in with a sculpting tool at the bottom. And I'm just kind of gently curving the steps around. And I think I've got maybe one more step to go. Maybe a little bit bigger. I'm just blending it in with my finger there. Now I'm going to take a piece of wire and I'm going to use that to hang the tire swing, because there's two reasons. One is I don't have any string, and number two, I don't have any experience with string. So if I don't have experience with string, I'm probably gonna just make a mess. You know, I'm not gonna be able to tie it. And there we go. That's where we're at right now. And soon we'll put the moss on. Okay, we're back. I've got the my tree baked, my little tire swing on with a piece of wire as I promised. And we're getting ready to put the moss on top, and I want to tell you about this product here. This is moss. It's deer moss and reindeer moss, they call it. And it's this color is forest green. This is what it looks like. And the nice thing about this is it's not really like dry and crumbling. It's you know, actually kind of supple, and it makes it very easy to work with. And you can trim it, you can cut it. If you cut it, it almost looks like you didn't even cut it at all. I actually just cut a piece for the top of the tree, and I trimmed it and everything. It doesn't even really look like I did, so that's kind of neat. This comes in a number of different colors. I'm going to put the source for it in the video description down below the video, and you know, you might want to pick some up. I mean, it's a big bag here, really big bag, and it's very affordable. I think it's like roughly $10 or $12 for a big bag like this, and it's really good. And then it's pretty much maintenance free, you know, as far as taking care of the tree goes. And we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and put this tuft of moss on there. So I just set it on the top, and then get it where I want it, and then I just press down gently onto the pins. And the idea of the pins only being about 1/4 inch tall from the top of the branches, they don't tend to go through, so you can't see them from the top. And so that's basically it. It's very easy to do. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of videos along these lines. Please give me a thumbs up on the video if you liked it, and leave me a comment. Also keep in mind, I do custom creations for people if you want something made for you, or a friend or something like that. And please feel free to visit my art shop. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.